It's my pleasure to introduce you to Chief Paul. Through my career, when I was starting with the Assembly of First Nations, working in the Minister's Office, I've always heard about Membertou First Nation and an ISO standard. And I've just talking with Chief Paul right now. He's talking about the certification on the First Nations Financial Management Board, which I had the pleasure of working there for years. And it's quite interesting in the sense of what he was saying to me was that certification, which is an optional piece of legislation that First Nations can opt into, is actually more difficult to attain and to apply to the community than the ISO standard. So that's something that I personally have worked on, and it's something that I've actually looked up to Membertou in regards to setting the target for where we'd like to go as Indigenous communities. That being said, I'd like to say that, I mean, you can read the resume, but 33 years as chief of the community it's amazing. And as also, I'd like to basically say, I don't know, during this process, how many Order of Canadas I've actually introduced. So another Order of Canada in 2017. And as well as probably the other one that I think it turns is double the land base of Membertou First Nation and an 80% employment rate for the community. And so it's just an astounding and amazing story that and I'll let him share that.
Thank you, Barry. Really appreciate that. Yeah. They're just sending their acknowledgements, that's all. So what does it? I think there'll be a big value. I Louis not it. The giga gigmanaha next week. What does it? Modio. Sadamoka kis siwyom Louisian. Got a wa bugosto wenda ma sidamok na got nasaga ma bijeno na kujilada did this now. All right. Appreciate that, you know. Just wanted to thank everybody for allowing me to come here and talk about my community a bit. It's been certainly an amazing and interesting 33 years, and I hope to last a few more years longer, maybe another 50. But anyway, like, you know, it's I plan on being here as long as the people in Membertou want me to be around. So when you have successes like we do, it turns into a very positive experience, and you're glad to wake up in the morning and go to work. Now, how many people can say that, you know, really? So anyway, with that, I wanted to start off with giving you a little bit of a history on Membertou. Over the last 30 years, Membertou has dedicated its efforts to creating a vibrant Mi'kmaq community through business development and calculated decision making. Membertou is considered one of the few who are sustainable First Nations communities in Canada. And that's unfortunate. We should all be there. A strong long-term focus on education, partnerships in business and government, as well as creating employment opportunities, we set forth on a path to building self-sufficiency for community as a whole and a strong fiscal future for the next generation and the generations to come. In 1995, Membertou had approximately 37 employees, operated on a $4 million government source budget, while dealing with a $1 million cumulative operating deficit. We were facing high poverty with high unemployment rates and widespread social dependency. It was then the Membertou Band Council saw that we were at a crossroads. We could continue down a path of economic decline and dependency, or take it upon ourselves to create real measurable change. We chose change. Our council, along with our staff, worked to eliminate the deficit and recruited experienced community members to come back to the community to help work towards a vision of Membertou as a vibrant, prosperous community. In developing Membertou, we moved forward on 3 key objectives, which set in motion a clear path to being a self-sufficient, sustainable community. Entering the game industry in 2000, the commercial fishery industry in 2001, and becoming the first Indigenous community in the world to be ISO 9001 certified. Through the certification, we furthered our credibility in the business community and built our own brand to keep moving forward. Very, very important to build a brand. People can identify you. Today, these efforts and sacrifices have paid off more than tenfold. Membertou today is now the 3rd largest employer in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality, with a staff of normally 500 people, and it shoots up during the tourist season and the fishing season. The employees consist of a mixture of individuals from Membertou, other Mi'kmaq communities, and the Cape Breton area. Unlike the declines in economic growth experienced by the island of Cape Breton, Membertou is thriving and experiencing economic growth. Of course, Membertou knows that maintaining a sustainable community is about more than just creating jobs. It's also about creating wealth that allows the community to operate and support the many programs and services that make a community whole. Reinvesting profits from the Membertou Gaming Commission and the First Fisherman's Seafood has played a huge role in our community's success. It has created jobs and generates profits of more than $3 million in annual revenue to the community and employs more than 30 people. Membertou is licensed across Nova Scotia, from Sydney Harbour to the Bay of Fundy. Currently, Membertou has 6 fishing vessels and holds licenses for snow crab, tuna, scallops, lobster, and groundfish. The Membertou Gaming Commission also plays a huge role for a sustainable and successful community. It helps support funding shortfalls in various federal government programs, such as social programming, housing, infrastructure, and education. Education at all levels is foundational in Membertou, from early childhood to skill building for the elders and everything in between. Community members have an opportunity to learn and grow at any age and ability, and to make education lifelong learning and allow a smooth transition to work and careers. Over the years, training programs, professional development, and education opportunities has decreased the levels of dependence on social assistance within the community. In addition to educational and training opportunities, there are also many other opportunities for the youth to gain practical leadership, employment experiences through such efforts, such as the Youth Chief and Council and the Student Term Employment Program utilizing partnerships. That's a lot to say, isn't it? But for short, step up. We give our citizens these programs to help them get a step up in what they're wanting to do. The development of our own education system and the community's own school has allowed community members to take the opportunity to further their education and skills which help them secure employment related to their chosen field of study. Most recently, we earned a Financial Management System certificate from the First Nations Financial Management Board in 2015. It was a demonstration of Membertou's commitment to strengthening our financial administration practices. Continual improvement, transparency, and accountability are very important to all the people of Membertou, and through hard work, we ensure that this is achieved for community members and other stakeholders. The community has partnerships in the private sector, which is also key to success. In 2016, a historic deal was signed between Cameron Coal and the Mi'kmaq Chiefs in Nova Scotia to mine coal at the Duncan Mine in Cape Breton. I worked with the provincial chiefs as royalties further assisted the community of Membertou and other surrounding First Nation communities within Cape Breton in raising their own sources of revenue. Membertou also purchased the health park on Churchill Drive, located at the Cape Breton Regional Hospital. This building serves as office space for doctors and health professionals. Membertou has taken an interest in supporting health sectors such as the hospice care and long-term care facilities, both of which will be coming to Membertou over the next few years. In creating new facilities for the community, we are also working with the Membertou Economic Benefits Office, MEBO, and Cape Breton University to ensure that we have skilled workers for future businesses. Working in partnership with other communities, Membertou has been key in creating tripartite council meetings with Eskasoni and the Cape Breton municipality, working together on port development, tourism, and the EMO. Each community rotates on who hosts the meetings, created a unified partnership. We are continuing with models that have helped us achieve success, but always looking for new opportunities. When it comes to business development, commercial fisheries, aquaculture, and/or education. Membertou did not get where it is today by working alone. We recognize the help that we received along the way. And as a leader in the First Nation communities, we still seek new ideas and opportunities and support, but also offer others trying to create sustainability too. An example of that would be that we provide all our policies that we've created, either through the ISO process or the financial process. I don't know of any community in the country that we refuse to provide these policies for. And they're free. That's the big catch. That's when we get a lot of people asking, because they realize that we're not charging a fee. You know, our payback, you know, our return is that we see the community move up. We will continue to balance reinvesting in profitable businesses, investing in the community, and diversifying its commercial portfolio by investing in other areas. More partnerships at every level will also be a priority whether it's the community, the region, nationally, and internationally. The idea of Membertou, building self-sufficiency and broad ownership of key infrastructure, land, buildings, as well as various investments and partnerships, including ownership stakes, key businesses, will allow the growth of the existing interest and to build a sustainable, stable path for the future where the equity stake of Membertou will grow exponentially in the coming years. Only through strong, stable planned growth and expansion of ownership and new investments can Membertou build an ownership based for our next generation, which has built-in sustainability. Membertou, not unlike many other First Nations, experiences the pressure to provide high-quality services and basic programs. We continue to outpace the growth in federal funding transfers of all services and programs. The population of Membertou is expected to continue to grow by at least 25% in the next 5 years and double in the next 10 years. We need to plan for that. We need to plan to change. Membertou must continue to keep pace and set out a stable growth plan which we will be able to ensure increased ownership and prosperity to ensure the quality of life in our community is sustained. Growth in equity ownership and growth of infrastructure will help ensure the growth in good jobs and opportunities for the large young population of Membertou and the surrounding area. Critical foundations of clear financial and fiscal responsibility, accountability, and transparency to the people of Membertou is key for their ongoing support to allow people of Membertou and others to become part of a better vision for Membertou, Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, and Canada. With all of y'all. Thank you.
Here we go.
Thank you, Chief. I was just wondering on the relation with partnership in the communities in relation to construction. Do you have a procurement strategy developed, and is that something that's useful for First Nations to have?
Yes, we do. So any construction company that they go through a bidding process, but part of the tender that's when you have control. When you have the tender, once you get it out, they're in control. So within that tender call, we have in there that you have to have at least 50% Indigenous workers in there. So they meet that most of the times. In fact, they surpass that a lot of the time. So we ensure that we have a process. It's not a toolbox meeting process, but it's regular meetings with the contractor to ensure that the terms of the contract are being met.
Is that something you'd be willing to share?
Yes, we most certainly, like you said, we share everything except our money. Yeah, but I wanted to add too that I know we had when we had the Marshall decision, and I know Mr. McGuigan spoke up and he was saying that don't blame me. I'm not sure if he meant that he meant for it happening. And I know that we had Mackenzie on our side here, and I'm not sure, well, we had a Mick and we had a Mac, so we had and dealing with Mi'kmaq, so. So really it was, if anybody's going to get the blame for having the Marshall decision happen, well, blame me. Because I was the conduit between the lawyer, which was Bruce Walsmith, and Junior Marshall, and the DFO officials. And of course, Junior would call me every time he was arrested or charged and that, and I'd be on the other line with the lawyer, and the lawyer just said, tell him to keep fishing. So all my words to Junior Marshall was, keep fishing, keep fishing. So
Chief
blame me. So anyway, it's an amazing thing, and I think that we have to think beyond where we live, really, in order to grow, and look at the world and experience it. And I've been fortunate enough to do that. And I'll give you an example of where I've been to Norway in the last couple of weeks. And this is my second trip at a conference called Aquanor. And it's a conference about aquaculture. And there is a key industry that is at its beginnings in Canada. Do you know that in Norway there's a processing plant there? They process 150 salmon a minute. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That plant can process all the farmed fish in Canada in 2 days. Norway has a population of 5 million people. It prepares 37 million meals per day. There's 69 truckloads of fish that leave that country every day. Of that 37 million meals that they prepare for the world, 17 million meals of those is just on salmon and trout. 5 million people. And here we are, wondering what we can do next. Well, there's an area. Here's an area that is just at the beginning, and this is where Membertou is seriously considering moving into as one of the areas in fishing. Not to stop there, but I think we can learn from others, and it's amazing. It's amazing what's going on around us. And of all the protein that we have, that we eat in this country, doesn't even amount to, from fish, doesn't even amount to 2%. In Norway, it's almost complete around. The protein they get from the sea, the fish, is 88%. So the answers are here. The answers are here if we work together. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if there's any more questions.
One question.
Chief Terry, you participate with one of our sister institutions, the Financial Management Board, and you've achieved certification from that. Could you just talk about that a bit more in terms of why and the necessity of being certified?
Yeah, David. As you know, you're a member of you're a member of the tax commission? Yeah, the tax commission, which most of our people are. I mean, when they hear the word tax, they just scream and run away, which shouldn't be the case. Tax could work, to your benefit if you understand it and use it right. Anyway, the FMB, you need to go through that process, the Financial Management Board. You have to go through the board to get certified in order to be eligible for the FNFA, which is the First Nations Finance Authority. And there is one of the few areas that Indigenous communities can get private capital at a reasonable rate, very reasonable rate. And we're very happy that happened. I think we were one of the first communities to get access to that fund. I'll give you an example of our first loan from them, helped pay off 2 large bank loans we had with the major banks. I won't name the banks. There's a couple of them anyway. And with that, this is the same money. So with that same money and the difference in the carrying charges, we were able to save about $1.1 million per month. Per month. What it also costs is that the other financial institutions, maybe including UNWEC, which I'm a chairman of, which is a development corporation, they all sharpen their pencils. I got really good advice from a person that deals with industry, financing the industry, and because of his entrepreneurship and the amount of businesses that this person creates. He said, you know, Chief, so with the banks, don't trust any of them, but use them all. So we use them all, you know, just have a little bit in each one of them, no matter. But that's the advice I got, and I think it's a really good advice. And this is how we operate. And the banks all talk to us. There was times before that when we couldn't even get an answer from the bank. Now they're calling us, trying to lend us money, and we're saying, hold on, like, you know, we're receiving this money. We just wait out for that one, maybe another project or something. And it's a good position to be in. Imagine talking to the bank, they wanting to lend you money, and you don't have time for it, you know. It's a really good place to be in. But it's a result of the procedures that we have, the policies. They're very important, you know, for your community, and the governance, and as one said, is really key, really important to make sure that the people are involved, the community, that they're informed, and that they have a say. You know, not everybody, you don't get 100% agreement, you never will. You know, so I think that it's really important to ensure that you have financial stability, you know, both in your processes particularly.
DJ Joseph, we just met. But I guess the question I had was about the management board as well, or your finances. But I guess I'll ask the other question about your other certification, the ISO certification. What prompted that for you guys to pursue that, and then what were some of the benefits of it right after?
Well, initially, when we set out to, after we got reorganized and that, we set out to try to develop partnerships. And part of partnership, very important part of partnership, is the relationship that you have. You know, so one of the things that a lot of the companies require is that, like, they want to have confidence in you, and they don't want to feel like, gee, concerned about their partner on whether or not they have the wherewithal, or you know, and the process in place that to be able to fulfill the agreement that you have with them. Like, you know, so I'll give you an example of that. When we did get the ISO certification, that was part of the reason to get credibility in the business community, really, and with government, you know. So when we made that announcement, when we finally went through the process, and it's pretty rigorous. And in fact, we had our staff. I know one, she's been there the longest, and she was pretty well the most against this process. It's just because you had to do a lot of work, you know. But when we got it, it was like a day after, 2 days after, like, an aerospace company called us. And they said during the discussions that the only reason why we called you, because you have the certification, we don't have to worry about you. I mean, we partnered. We didn't get the contract, but the point is, though, that we, you know, and we learned from that. We know what we did wrong there. Like, you know, we went exclusive. So don't go exclusive unless you have the contract right in your hand. So that was it. Like, you know, it gives you really, because what you have to do in order to get that certification, it tells the world, you know, that your processes, your management processes, you know, your financial processes, your policies, your guidelines, your procedures are all codified, and it's fair to everybody, and it applies to everybody. Now, today, you wouldn't be able to get that staff member off that. Like, she swears by it now, you know. So our staff learned to be able to, they won't operate any other way now, you know, and it's good. Like, you don't have to second guess or look back on what they reported. You know what procedures they went through in order to get this report, you know. And of course, like, we have these policies in place. We have financial loss. They're financial loss. So we have to follow them. We are committed to follow those, and we do, and it helps. In fact, part of our executive meetings, particularly the finance and audit meetings, we bring our banker in. I'm not sure how many other communities bring a banker in during their sessions like that. And we don't listen to them all the time. I mean, like, don't do. You make your own choice, but it helps to have another ear, you know, and another opinion about what we're doing. And there's a lot of times we do listen, though, you know, but there's times that, well, no, we like this way, you know. So.
Chief, I wanted to ask you, Viola mentioned the RCAP recommendation on rebuilding the original nations. I wondered, from the point of view of a strong community, how important is that rebuilding that larger nation to you? I would imagine you've had some success there. There's a lot of talk about the educational system down here, et cetera. How important is it? What are the challenges? Do you see any time frames? What's your view on nation rebuilding?
Well, I agree with Viola 100%, like, on what she, and we do. We think in nationhood, Mi'kmaq is not only limited to Nova Scotia, it's throughout the Atlantic. And because of the politics and the boundaries that are there now, and different levels of government, like, you know, sometimes there's different parties. Try to get them together, you know. But we felt in Nova Scotia that we had a critical mass, and it's just Mi'kmaq. And then we were able to convince the provincial and federal governments to sit down with us and discuss. One of the discussions is nationhood. But we always have, you know, we have a Grand Council that covers the whole Atlantic area. We have other Mi'kmaq communities. They're just as Mi'kmaq as we are, you know. We speak the same language, for God's sake. We got relations within our communities. The boundaries don't matter, like, you know. So at some point, yes, we want to come out about this. At what point, I don't know. It'd probably be at least past my lifetime, but at least have a good, strong foundation for our younger people that are coming up, which there are some here that are young. They're youth now. They're starting to take over the very important positions in the community, you know, and provide that for the future. But, you know, my dream would be that all the Mi'kmaqs are under one nation, and that we are recognized by all governments, and this is the way we should be operating.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Chief Paul.
I got off easy.
I'd now like to ask Mr. Paul to come up to do closing remarks, and Tim Gauthier for the IOG and Mr. Paul for the APC.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming today and participating and sticking it out till the end of the day. I know it's a long, compressed day. We're talking about some very interesting and complicated things, and I know that Terry's story is a very compelling one about how you change your own mindset to create a different future. And that's what we're all trying to do, in essence. And I think that this dialogue forum and the discussions here will help formulate what will happen in the future. And just stay tuned. And I think there's one more session in Ottawa, I think. And all these things are being compiled and going to be reported on, and help produce a report that we can use, but others can use to move forward. So thank you everybody for coming and participating.
Thank you.
I'm going to come up here because I have a piece of paper with a bunch of doodles on it. So, my name's Tim Gauthier. I'm the Director of Research at the Institute on Governance. Two quick housekeeping items. It might have been mentioned, you might have seen them. There are evaluation forms for the dialogue on the tables. If you have an opportunity to fill them out, please do. It helps us with our future events and continuously improving. Second, immediately after this, there is a cocktail reception immediately outside. As was mentioned before, Mary Antoinette Flumian, the president of the IOG, was unable to attend today. She does send her regrets that she could not be here, and I look forward to briefing her on the success of this gathering. So on behalf of the IOG, I'd like to close today by thanking those who have helped make this dialogue such a success. First, we would like to thank the Mi'kmaq people for hosting us today on their traditional territory. We'd like to thank John Paul, Rhonda Wiley, their colleagues who helped throughout the day today, and the entire APC organization as our co-hosts, and for helping organize this dialogue. Thank you to Canadians for a New Partnership, especially Scott Zerson today and throughout the entire series. They are our partners for characteristics of a nation-to-nation relationship, so thank you to you guys as well. Thank you to the Government of Canada, specifically Fisheries and Oceans Canada, for this particular dialogue, for whose contribution allows us to deliver this timely, important work. Thank you to the Western Nova Scotian for being the venue for this dialogue. And special thanks to all the speakers today who took time from their busy schedule to come and provide their insights and their experiences today. And finally, thank you all for participating in today's dialogue and discussions. You'll be hearing from us about the outcomes of this discussion in the form of a summary report and videos that will be posted on our website soon. As we've mentioned many times, this is the fourth in a dialogue series entitled Characteristics of a Nation-to-Nation Relationship. I'll direct you again to our website, iog.ca, where you can access all the work that has been done over the past year. That includes the series discussion paper that Marcia Nickerson drafted. There are physical copies outside if you'd like to take one. As well as you can find all of the summary reports of our past dialogues and the past videos there as well. As John Paul mentioned, the series will culminate in a 2-day national summit that will be held in Ottawa, November 27th and 28th at the National Arts Center to present and discuss the emerging findings and inputs to date with a view of drawing conclusions from the dialogue for all the parties moving forward. So stay tuned for all the updates and information on that. As a not-for-profit, the IOG can't host these discussions like these on our own. So thanks again to everyone for coming out, and we hope to see you again.
I'd like to ask the elder to come up and close this off with a prayer.
Hallelujah. Before I do say the closing prayer, I'd like to congratulate Membertou. I'm just wondering on what street they're going to have their condominiums and their low rental housing, high rise at that. But I must congratulate them. Kisu kulaliak, tantel mawoliak, tantel jasdedmek, tel mawdanen. Abonemanen, kigmanatan, dudaji, abonemasudi. Aholalia, chitkisku nagak, pegijigiske kadwaladia. Almsted well known weird, manal guidagado. Holo kispesaulanam alba. Creator, I thank you for this day. I thank you for allowing us to gather here to talk about all our successes and our failures as well. And I pray that the Creator watches over you when you drive home, because the roads are waterlogged. So just slow down, and you'll live to see the next IOG meeting. But have a nice evening, and I thank you very much, and good night, and God bless.
Thank you, Elder. We'll be having a reception afterwards, and I hope that you would be able to attend it. Thank you so much.